The alien ship hovered in low orbit, its hull a sleek symphony of silvery alloys reflecting Earth's sunlight. Commander Virex of the Ofteri Dominion leaned forward in his command chair, his four translucent eyes narrowing as he studied the planet below. "Primitive," he muttered, his voice laced with contempt. "Barely worthy of our notice, yet it managed to send a signal that pierced the void. Let us see what makes this mudball so persistent." The humans called it a beacon of hope, a crude attempt to announce their presence to the cosmos. To the Ofteri, it was an invitation, a challenge, even. The garbled transmission, leaking from a primitive satellite, had carried more than its creators intended. Embedded within were the blueprints of a nascent faster-than-light drive, clumsy yet functional. It was not the design that intrigued the Ofteri, but the sheer audacity of its creators. To broadcast such a message to the stars was an act of either courage or madness. Virex was here to determine which. "Report," Virex demanded, his voice resonating across the bridge. Lieutenant Cyrix, a wiry creature with bioluminescent patterns shimmering along his elongated neck, consulted his console. "The planet is rich in organic resources and possesses moderate mineral deposits. Its dominant species, bipedal mammals, exhibit rudimentary technological progress. They have only recently breached their atmosphere." "Hardly a threat," Virex said, dismissing the humans with a wave of his spindly hand. "Prepare a containment protocol. We'll secure this system, confiscate their technology, and neutralize any resistance. Leave the husk for the scrappers." The crew responded with a chorus of affirmations. The Ofteri Dominion had done this countless times before, descended upon underdeveloped worlds, stripped them of anything valuable, and left behind little more than ghostly ruins. Earth would be no different. Or so they believed. On the surface, the humans were unaware of the impending danger. In a bustling control room nestled deep within an Arctic research station, Dr. Elena Varga monitored the same transmission that had caught the Ofteri's attention. Her brow furrowed as she noticed anomalies in the data stream. "Something's wrong," Elena said, her voice cutting through the low hum of computers. "The signal, it's echoing." Her colleague, a lanky engineer named Mark, leaned over her shoulder. "Echoing? What do you mean?" "It's like something is bouncing the signal back at us," she explained. "And it's not natural. Whatever it is, it's deliberate." Before she could elaborate, the station's comm system crackled to life. An automated alert blared, unidentified object entering Earth's orbit. Elena's blood ran cold. She and her team had theorized about first contact, but the reality was far less comforting. "Mark, pull up the satellite feed." The room fell silent as the screen displayed a grainy image of the alien vessel. It was massive, dwarfing even the largest human spacecraft, with a design that seemed almost organic in nature. A collective sense of awe and dread filled the room. "What the hell is that?" Mark whispered. "A visitor," Elena replied, her voice barely audible. In orbit, Virex observed the humans' reaction with mild amusement. Their primitive satellites were scrambling, their ground installations emitting frantic bursts of communication. "Like insects scurrying from a shadow," he remarked. "They will not resist us." But as the Ofteri ship descended into the upper atmosphere, something unexpected happened. A barrage of projectiles erupted from Earth's surface, not nuclear missiles, but a coordinated strike of electromagnetic pulse, EMP, devices. The ship's shields absorbed the first few hits, but the sheer volume of the assault overwhelmed their systems. "Shields failing." Cyrix shouted, his bioluminescent patterns flashing in alarm. "We've been targeted by ground-based defenses." Virex shot to his feet. "Impossible. How could they have known?" The answer lay in humanity's ingenuity. Elena and her team had anticipated the alien arrival and, against all odds, devised a defense. Earth wasn't the unprepared backwater the Ofteri had assumed, it was a world of thinkers, builders, and survivors. The Ofteri vessel spiraled away, its engine sputtering as it crashed into the Pacific Ocean. Across the globe, humanity watched as the first chapter of their interstellar story began. They were no longer alone, and they were far from defenseless. The shattered remains of the Ofteri scout ship smoldered beneath the Pacific waves, but its arrival had ignited a flame that could not be extinguished. Humanity, for the first time in its history, was united by a single, inescapable truth: they were no longer alone, and the universe was not a friendly place. In a war room deep beneath the Pentagon, a holographic projection of Earth hovered over the central table, encircled by grim-faced leaders, scientists, and military strategists. President Caroline Hayes leaned forward, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "Ladies and gentlemen, the Oftery will be back. We need to be ready." Dr. Elena Varga, freshly returned from her Arctic station, addressed the room. "Their technology is far beyond ours, but they underestimated us. That's our advantage: they don't see us as a threat." General Marcus Trent, a towering figure with a reputation for unconventional tactics, crossed his arms. "That advantage won't last long. Their crash site is already being combed by recovery teams, but we need to do more than play defense. We need to learn everything we can from their tech and hit them where it hurts." The room erupted into debate. Some argued for diplomacy, hoping the Oftery would see reason. Others demanded an aggressive stance, insisting that humanity's survival depended on striking first. President Hayes raised her hand, silencing the room. "We prepare for both. Dr. Varga, I want every piece of that ship analyzed yesterday. General Trent, mobilize our forces. Earth is no longer a planet, we're a target." On the Pacific seabed, under the shadow of an underwater recovery vessel, divers in advanced exosuits worked tirelessly to salvage what they could from the Oftery wreck. A young engineer named Liam Chin supervised the operation from the ship's bridge, his eyes darting between monitors displaying live feeds from the divers. "We've got something big," one of the divers reported. The feed showed a massive, crystalline core pulsing faintly with light. "That's it," Liam murmured, excitement creeping into his voice. "The ship's power source." "Careful," warned another voice over the comms. "We don't know what it's capable of." As the core was lifted to the surface, the team celebrated their find, unaware that it was broadcasting a faint signal into space, a beacon calling for help. In orbit, aboard the Oftery flagship Zefrak, Commander Virex fumed as reports of the scout ship's destruction reached him. "One planet," he growled, pacing the bridge. "One primitive planet, and they managed to repel us." Lieutenant Cyrix, ever cautious, stepped forward. "Commander," their response was unexpected. "Their tactics are unorthodox, and they've already begun to salvage our technology. If they reverse engineer, they won't live long enough to finish," Virex interrupted, his tone sharp. "Assemble the fleet. We'll show these insects the full might of the Dominion." Cyrix hesitated. "With respect, Commander, an outright assault might draw attention from rival factions. Perhaps a more surgical approach." "Enough." Virex snapped. "Earth will fall, and when it does, it will serve as an example to any who dare defy us." Back on Earth, humanity's efforts accelerated. Laboratories buzzed with activity as scientists worked around the clock to unlock the secrets of the recovered Oftery technology. In one such lab, Elena and Liam examined the crystalline core, its faint pulses mesmerizing. "It's like it's alive," Liam said, his voice hushed. "The energy readings are off the charts." Elena nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. "If we can harness even a fraction of this, we'll have a weapon, or a power source, that could level the playing field." But the core was not entirely passive. As they worked, its pulses grew stronger, almost rhythmic, as if it were responding to their presence. Meanwhile, in a remote desert installation, General Trent oversaw the testing of Earth's first hybrid weapon system. The prototype railgun, built using Oftery superconductors, fired a projectile at hypersonic speeds, obliterating its target. The gathered engineers erupted in cheers, but Trent remained stoic. "Good. Now make it faster." Humanity was evolving, adapting to the threat with remarkable speed. But even as their confidence grew, so did the danger. Far beyond the solar system, the Oftery fleet began its journey toward Earth, their massive ships casting long shadows over the stars. Virex stood on the command deck, watching as the fleet prepared for war. "This time," he said, his voice cold and certain, "there will be no survivors." On Earth, Elena stared at the core, unease settling over her. "It's sending a signal," she realized, her heart sinking. "They're coming." The room fell silent, the weight of her words sinking in. Humanity had made its stand, but the real battle was only just beginning. The stars whispered secrets in frequencies humans couldn't hear, but the crystalline core heard everything. Its silent pulses carried a message, a cry for reinforcements that echoed through the vast expanse of space. And the galaxy listened. In a secluded bunker hidden beneath the Swiss Alps, Dr. Elena Varga stood before a council of Earth's most brilliant minds, her unease palpable. "The core isn't just a power source," she began, her voice steady despite the tension in the room. "It's a beacon. It's been transmitting a signal since the moment we recovered it." The room fell silent. A dozen pairs of eyes turned toward her, some skeptical, others alarmed. General Marcus Trent broke the silence. "What kind of signal?" "An alert," Elena replied. "It's calling for reinforcements. And judging by the energy output, whoever is listening is already on their way." The council erupted in a cacophony of voices. Politicians demanded secrecy, military leaders argued for preemptive action, and scientists debated the ethics of continuing to study the core. President Caroline Hayes raised her hand, silencing the room. "How long do we have?" she asked. Elena hesitated. "Days, maybe less." President Hayes nodded grimly. "Then we don't have time for arguments. General Trent, prepare our defenses. Dr. Varga, I want every scrap of information on that core. If it can be weaponized, do it." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Ofteri fleet moved with relentless precision, but they weren't the only ones who had noticed the signal. On the fringe of Dominion space, a rogue faction known as the Threx Syndicate intercepted the transmission. Their leader, Kale Vryn, leaned back in his chair, a predatory smile spreading across his face. "Humans," he mused, his voice a low growl. "The Ofteri are in over their heads if they couldn't crush this little species. Perhaps it's time we introduced ourselves." The Threx were opportunists, scavengers who thrived in the chaos left by galactic empires. To them, Earth wasn't just a battlefield, it was a prize. If the humans were as resourceful as the reports suggested, they could be valuable allies or profitable slaves. "Prepare the fleet," Kale ordered. "We're going to Earth." On Earth, the pace of preparations reached a fever pitch. Military bases buzzed with activity as hybrid weapons were deployed, integrating human ingenuity with Ofteri technology. Orbital defense platforms were activated, and Earth's first interstellar ships, hastily constructed prototypes, were readied for launch. Elena and her team worked tirelessly in their underground lab, their focus on the core's potential applications. As Liam Chen adjusted a control panel, the core's pulses grew erratic, its light flickering like a heartbeat under stress. "It's reacting to something," Liam said, frowning. Elena stared at the display. "Or someone. The signal's intensity is increasing." The core's light flared, and a burst of data flooded their systems. Elena's eyes widened as she deciphered the stream. "It's a map," she whispered. "Coordinates. It's not just calling for help, it's marking Earth as a target." Above the planet, the first signs of the enemy's arrival appeared. Long-range sensors detected movement at the edge of the solar system, a small fleet of Threx ships. Unlike the sleek, precise designs of the Ofteri, the Threx vessels were jagged, patchwork creations, bristling with stolen weaponry. General Trent stood on the command deck of Earth's flagship, Resolute, a prototype vessel armed with hybrid railguns and advanced shielding. "Incoming transmission from the Threx," his communications officer reported. The alien's holographic image flickered to life. Kale Vryn, with his scarred face and glowing yellow eyes, grinned at Trent. "Humans, I've come to offer you a deal. The Ofteri are on their way, but I can help you, for a price." "What's the price?" Trent asked, his tone ice cold. Kale's grin widened. "Half your planet's resources. A small fee for survival." Trent's jaw tightened. "No deal." Kale's smile faded. "Then I hope you're ready to burn." The Threx ships opened fire, and Earth's orbital defenses roared to life. Railguns tore through the patchwork vessels, but the Threx fought with ferocity, their tactics unpredictable. For every ship destroyed, another two slipped through, testing Earth's resolve. On the ground, Elena watched the battle unfold on a monitor. "This isn't just a skirmish," she said. They're probing us, testing our defenses. Liam glanced at her, worry etched on his face. And when the Oftari arrive? Elena didn't answer. The truth was too grim to say aloud. In the chaos of the battle, a Threx boarding party managed to breach the Resolute. General Trent led a counter-assault, his soldiers engaging the intruders in brutal close-quarters combat. As Trent drove his blade through a Threx soldier, he barked into his comms. "We hold this line. No one sets foot on Earth." Far from the battlefield, the Oftari fleet drew closer. Commander Virex watched as the Threx attack unfolded. "Fools," he sneered. "Let them soften the humans for us. Soon, Earth will kneel." Back in the lab, the core's pulses reached a fever pitch. Elena stared at it, her mind racing. It's not just sending a signal anymore, she realized. It's building something. "What?" Liam asked, alarmed. Elena's voice was barely a whisper. "A weapon, or a doorway." The stakes had risen. Earth was no longer fighting for survival, it was racing against time. The Threx were the first wave, a tempest of chaos battering Earth's defenses. But as their ragged ships were torn apart in orbit, a deeper shadow loomed beyond the edge of the solar system. The Oftari fleet was coming, vast and relentless, and Earth's desperate preparations would soon be put to the ultimate test. On the bridge of the Resolute, General Marcus Trent surveyed the aftermath of the Threx assault. The battlefield above Earth was littered with the debris of shattered ships, a grim testament to the cost of survival. Trent stood tall, his battle-worn armor a symbol of Earth's determination. His voice carried the weight of command as he addressed his crew. "Status report," he barked. Commander Julia Vasquez, his second-in-command, scanned the readouts. "Threx forces have been neutralized, but we took heavy damage. 2 orbital platforms are offline, and half the fleet is out of commission. Repairs are underway, but it's not enough." Trent nodded grimly. "It'll have to be. The Oftari aren't far behind." Deep within the Swiss Alps, Dr. Elena Varga stood before the crystalline core, now pulsing with an intensity that sent vibrations through the lab. The team had made progress in unlocking its secrets, but every breakthrough brought new questions. "It's reacting to the Oftari's approach," Elena said, her voice tight with urgency. "The signal has evolved, it's no longer just a call for reinforcements. It's guiding them." Liam Chen adjusted the monitoring equipment, his brow furrowed. "You're saying it's not just a beacon. It's a tool for coordination." "Exactly," Elena replied. "It's like a neural network, syncing their fleet. If we can disrupt it, we might stand a chance." The room went silent as the implications sank in. The core wasn't just Earth's greatest discovery, it was the key to the Oftari's strength. But to weaponize it would be a gamble with catastrophic stakes. As Earth braced for the Oftari's arrival, humanity's newly forged fleet gathered in low orbit. The ships were an eclectic mix of retrofitted Earth technology and hastily reverse-engineered alien designs. Among them, the Resolute stood as a symbol of human ingenuity and resilience. In the war room aboard the flagship, President Caroline Hayes addressed the gathered military and scientific leaders via hologram. Her expression was resolute, though the weight of the moment was evident in her eyes. "Today, we fight for more than survival," she said. "We fight for our place among the stars. Humanity has always thrived in the face of adversity. Let this be no different. General Trent, the floor is yours." Trent stepped forward, his voice steady and commanding. "The Oftari fleet is larger and more advanced than anything we've faced. But they don't know us. They don't understand what humanity is capable of when pushed to the brink." He outlined a bold strategy. Earth's fleet would launch a preemptive strike at the edge of the solar system, using hit-and-run tactics to weaken the Oftari before their full strength could be brought to bear. Meanwhile, Elena's team would focus on disrupting the core's signal, creating chaos within the enemy's ranks. The first engagement began as Earth's fleet intercepted the Oftari vanguard near the Kuiper Belt. The alien ships were sleek and menacing, their shields absorbing the initial barrage of human railgun fire. But Earth's forces fought with a ferocity the Oftari had not anticipated. The Resolute led the charge, its hybrid weapons slicing through enemy formations. On the bridge, Trent's voice rang out over the comms. Focus fire on their command ships. Cut off their coordination. Earth's tactics were unconventional, exploiting weaknesses the Opteri hadn't considered. Ambushes from asteroid fields, decoy drones, and EMP pulses disrupted their formations. For every human ship lost, 2 Opteri vessels fell. In the lab, Elena and her team worked furiously to manipulate the core. Using a combination of human ingenuity and alien algorithms, they attempted to reverse the signal. The core's light intensified, its pulses erratic, as if resisting their efforts. "It's fighting back," Liam muttered. Elena didn't look up. "It's not sentient, but it's designed to protect itself. Keep working." Suddenly, the core emitted a surge of energy, shorting out nearby systems. Alarms blared as the team scrambled to stabilize it. Elena's hands flew across the controls, her mind racing. "We're close. I can feel it." Back in space, the battle raged on. The Opteri began to adapt, their advanced AI analyzing human tactics. The tide shifted as their main fleet arrived, dwarfing Earth's forces. Trent gritted his teeth as the Resolute shook from a direct hit. "We need that signal disrupted, now," he shouted into his comms. At that moment, Elena succeeded. The core emitted a low hum, its pulses slowing as the signal fractured. Across the battlefield, Opteri ships faltered, their movements becoming disjointed. Human forces pressed the advantage, exploiting the chaos. On the Resolute, Trent watched as an Opteri dreadnought drifted aimlessly. "They're breaking," he yelled. "All ships, push forward." The Opteri fleet retreated, their coordination shattered. Cheers erupted across Earth's fleet, but the victory was bittersweet. The cost had been staggering, and the core's true nature remained a mystery. As the dust settled, Elena stared at the now dormant core. "We bought ourselves time," she said softly. "But this isn't over." Far beyond the solar system, Commander Virex seethed aboard his flagship. "They've made fools of us," he snarled. "Prepare the second wave. This time, Earth will burn." The rising tide had been stemmed, but the storm was far from over. The silence after the battle was deafening. Above Earth, the wreckage of alien and human ships drifted in slow orbits, a graveyard of ambition and defiance. Yet amid the devastation, a single truth rang clear: humanity had survived. And survival, as history had shown, was the first step toward dominance. In the Pentagon's war room, the air was heavy with exhaustion and anticipation. President Caroline Hayes stood at the head of the table, addressing the weary faces of her advisors, scientists, and generals. The Opteri retreated, but we all know this isn't over, she began, her voice resolute. We've bloodied their nose, but their pride, and their fleet, will return. General Marcus Trent leaned forward, his expression as unyielding as the steel table between them. We can't wait for them to come to us. The next wave will be larger, better prepared. If we want to win, we have to take the fight to them. Dr. Elena Varga nodded, her gaze fixed on a glowing schematic of the crystalline core. We've made progress. The signal disruption worked, but we're not finished. The core holds more secrets. If we can unlock them, it could turn the tide in our favor. The room buzzed with quiet discussion. Trent turned to Elena. What kind of secrets are we talking about? Elena hesitated, then said, the core isn't just a signal booster. It's a gateway. A means to open rifts in space, essentially creating a shortcut to anywhere in the galaxy. President Hayes' eyes widened. Are you saying we could take the fight directly to the Opteri homeworld? Elena nodded. If we can stabilize it, yes. But it's a risk. The core is unstable, and using it could have catastrophic consequences. In orbit, repairs on the fleet were underway. The Resolute hung in space like a wounded beast, its hull scarred but its spirit unbroken. General Trent had moved his command center to the ship, overseeing preparations for what would be Earth's first interstellar offensive. Status report, he demanded as engineers worked feverishly around him. Commander Julia Vasquez replied, our losses are severe, but the fleet is operational. We've retrofitted additional ships with hybrid tech. It's not perfect, but it'll hold. Trent nodded. It has to. As the fleet prepared, Elena and her team worked around the clock to stabilize the core. In the subterranean lab, the air hummed with tension as the device pulsed with an almost hypnotic rhythm. Liam Chen monitored the power levels, his hands flying across the controls. "It's stabilizing," he said. "But the energy output is enormous. If this thing overloads, we'll all know it," Elena finished grimly. "But we don't have a choice." With a final adjustment, the core emitted a low, resonant hum. The room was bathed in its otherworldly light as the air around it seemed to ripple. A small rift opened, revealing a glimpse of a starfield far beyond Earth's reach. "We did it," Liam whispered. Elena's voice was steady. "Now we see if it holds." The fleet gathered near the rift, its ships glinting in the light of Earth's sun. Soldiers and pilots readied themselves for what could be their final mission. On the bridge of the Resolute, Trent addressed the fleet. "Today, we step into the unknown," he said, his voice echoing across the comm channels. "The Ofteri think they can crush us, that we're nothing more than a primitive species. Let's show them what humanity is made of." Cheers erupted across the fleet. The rift expanded, and one by one, the ships plunged into the void. The Ofteri homeworld, a shimmering planet of crystalline spires and glowing seas, appeared on the fleet's sensors. The element of surprise was theirs. Earth's forces struck with precision, targeting key installations and infrastructure. Railguns and plasma cannons unleashed hell, shattering Ofteri defenses. On the surface, resistance was fierce. Alien warriors met human soldiers in brutal combat, but the determination of Earth's forces proved unyielding. General Trent led the ground assault, his unorthodox tactics sowing chaos among the Ofteri ranks. In orbit, Elena monitored the core's stability. The rift pulsed ominously, its energy levels climbing. "It's not going to hold forever," she warned. "Just give us time," Trent replied over the comm. "We're almost there." The turning point came when a strike team infiltrated the Ofteri command center, planting explosives that disrupted their planetary defense grid. As the explosives detonated, a wave of energy rippled across the planet, silencing its orbital defenses. The Ofteri fleet, disoriented and leaderless, began to retreat. Humanity's gamble had paid off. Back on Earth, the fleet returned through the rift, battered but victorious. The core's energy waned, its task complete. In the war room, cheers erupted as the realization set in, they had done the impossible. President Hayes addressed the world in a broadcast that would be remembered for generations. Today, humanity stood together and faced the darkness. We are no longer the prey. We are the hunters. And the galaxy will remember our name. As the stars settled into silence once more, one thing was certain: the dawn of humanity had begun. And the galaxy would never be the same.